Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Let me just adjust my camera slightly, guys. Seems like it's pointing up my nose. Welcome back to the channel. It's Joffy Noodle Legs here today with the last review in our Indicator Film Week. And today we're looking at a Hammer film called Never Take Sweets from a Stranger. Now this is quite a controversial film, I think, for its time, because it touches on a really taboo subject, as I think the title probably gives away. The film sort of starts off in telling you that we're in Canada and that this is based on a fictional story, but it could be true. And we see two girls playing on like a swing in like on this tree in this sort of like grassy sort of meadow area. And they're playing on the swing. And we see there's a house in the background, and we see an old man looking out the window, watching through a pair of binoculars, watching the two girls. Already that gave me shivers and creeps straight away. And then one of the girls drops her purse into the grass, and she says, "Oh, I've got about 35 cents in there." So obviously it's and she goes, "That's as much money I'm ever gonna have," you know. She goes, "That's my money for sort of for sweets, candy." Obviously, a lot of the film it refers to it as candy, because obviously in America and Canada it's candy. Over here in the UK, they're called sweets. Anyway, the other girl that's with her says, "Hey, I know how to get some candy for free. Come with me." So she goes, "We go to this house over there, and they'll give us candy for nothing." So but they make on their way, and we then cut to the school, high school, the school of the town, and we meet one of the young girls' mum and dad, who he's just been appointed the headmaster of the school at this town. And they've just I think they've just moved back there from England. I think he used to live in Canada, but he's obviously lived in England, probably doing his studying and stuff, and he's got his own little family, and they've moved over from England as he's taken this headmaster job. And all the locals seem very, very like, "Oh, you know, it's brilliant to have you here," and they're really nice, and they're really sort of friendly and welcoming. And so we see them all kind of chatting about, you know, the town, and you know, and about them, glad that they're here, and how they're more than welcome, you know, anytime they're part of the town now. And we see the the father. He's like the headmaster, so he's still really sort of like really happy that he's got this job, and his wife saying how happy he is for her, and they're happy to live there because it's a lovely place, and everything seems up roses. And then they decide to go home, and they get home. This is probably late in the evening, and his mother's there, and she's there. She's babysitting because the young girl's obviously in bed. The young girl's one of the girls that were on the swing, and they're having a bit of jibber jabber with the mother and stuff like that, saying it all went really well and stuff like that. And she said, "Yeah, the little one's up there asleep." And then the little one comes downstairs saying that she can't sleep. And so they're sort of talking. So, you know, "Why can't you sleep?" She goes, "Oh, 'cause I keep having nightmares." Well, you're obviously sleeping if if you're having nightmares. You are sleeping. Anyway, so she talks, and then she says, "Oh, I've got hurt my foot. I've got like I've like hurt my foot," and it's like a." And she goes, "Oh, there's nothing there." She goes, "Oh, there's a dent there." She goes, "Oh, yeah, I stood on a nail." And so they keep talking. Goes, "How did you stand on a nail?" They said, "Oh, did you have a nice day?" Because, "Yeah, we went to the house and we visited the old man there." And it goes, "Oh, that's really nice of you, you know, visiting the old man, being nice and stuff like that." And she said, "Yeah, that's where I hurt my foot with the nail." She goes, "Well, how did you do that?" Because I took my shoes off. And they said, "Well, why did you take your shoes off?" Goes, "Oh, because he asked me to, you know, and he asked us to take off all our clothes, so we did." And then they all look around and shocked at each other. I was like, "What?" So he's asked her to take their clothes off. and and they all look absolutely, well, I would be devastated too. And it was like, wow, okay. They were asking him what else they did, sort of thing, and he said, oh, they gave him candy and stuff like that. Anyway, the mother takes her up to the bed, and the father's down there sort of trying to talk to his mother, saying, oh my God, if he's touched her, I'll kill him, sort of thing. Anyway, so we join them upstairs, we join the mother and the daughter, and they're still chatting away, and she wants the mother to read her a story. And she goes, no, I want you to tell me more what happened this afternoon. You know, about in there, was he a nice man? And she said, yeah, it was okay, but he told us to take off our clothes and that, and he gave us some candy afterwards. And she said, after what? She said, after we did a dance for him. So, and she was saying, no, he was just, and her mother said, was he alone? She said, yeah, he was here alone. He was just sitting in his sort of rocking chair watching us dance and sort of rocking back and forth and sort of like smiling and stuff like that. Really upsetting, to be honest, when I was listening to it all. Oh my God, this is shocking. And then we cut downstairs. She's come downstairs and she's telling her husband what's all happened about. She's been getting them to dance for him, and you know, and he was sort of like watching them and sort of like smiling and rocking back and forth on his chair while these two girls were dancing naked in front of him. So then the mother wants to go. The father then tries to phone up the son of the old man, but he can't get hold of him. So the mother wants to go to the police and tell them, but the grandmother doesn't want them to do that because she said it's a small town, and if you start saying things that you really don't know yet, you could make things worse. And you know, and because you just moved here with a new job, and her husband sort of agrees with the grandmother a bit about it. So yeah, we need to play this right, not just sort of like dive straight into the police. But the mother's convinced it's the right thing to do. She goes, when a crime's been committed, you know, we've got a duty not just towards our daughter, but towards all the other children in the town. So he doesn't want her to go, and she's just about to go, and he stops her, and then the grandmother sort of explains, look, you know, until we get this proper evidence, you can't just go in screaming sort of like rape and stuff like this when there's no evidence that he's even touched her and stuff like that. Then we hear a scream from upstairs, and it's the young girl. She's woke up and she's screaming, and that. So they run up the stairs to see what's going on, and she starts saying, "Oh, she can't sleep. She can't sleep. The old man's in the cupboard. He's in the cupboard. I've seen him." And then so then the grandmother opens the cupboard and shows that no one's there. She goes, no, he was in there. And she was screaming and screaming and screaming about this. And so the father then sort of like rushes out the room and rushes out the house. And he's obviously gone to the police. And then we cut to the next day at City Hall. And the mother's there speaking to sort of like the captain of the police. He's showing her the report from what he received last night from the father. And she's saying, look, yeah. And he says, well, obviously we need to speak to the girls to get the evidence for this. He goes, well, yes, you'll get all the evidence you need. He goes, even if we have to go to court, we'll do it. And then the police officer then sort of persuading her, do you really want to go down this sort of route, you know, in this small town? Because I think this old man's a part of a well-established sort of family, a well-off sort of family in the town. And so he's also trying to persuade her not to pursue it any further and drop the charges. And that's all I'm going to tell you, because then the sort of film takes off into sort of like, it goes to sort of like court and stuff like this. And it's a really sort of taboo subject, and it's handled in such a mature way, because you don't see nothing. You don't see the old man, or you don't see the girl sort of like stripping for him or anything like that. So All we've got is, what I like about it is their word, because we don't know. You haven't seen any of that, so we don't actually know. He might have been innocent. He might have been a nice old man, and these old girls might be just playing an evil prank. You don't know. So at this point in the film, and that's what I like about it. It sort of grips you. So what do I think of Never Take Sweets from a Stranger? It's a great film. It's excellent. Really cool. Really taboo subject though, and it's so strange. So like for these, so such an old film from Hammer to be dealing with such a subject matter. And I really like that too, because it just sort of like brings this thing to the forefront that we hear about this thing today, don't we? About these child abusers and stuff. And it was still going on back then, and it's just like we've never learned. We have never learned. We've never moved on as a human race or thought, or know what's the difference between right and wrong. We haven't learnt what's the difference is. Well, I know that most of us have, but it's just sort of like crazy that this thing was going on then. And this is quite an intriguing film, and it's handled really, really in a mature sort of way, in a sense of like it's all about word rather than seeing it. And I like that. It was cool. The pluses of this edition from Indicator, it looks really, really nice. It's sharp. The black and whites are really, really sharp. It's got some natural grain in it, which is really cool. The acting is cool. It's of its time, obviously, and it is played out like a normal sort of drama of the sort of 50s and 60s, and it's got that sort of film noir sort of touch to it. I would class this as a film noir film, and it's got that feel about the film, but it looks excellent. The minuses, there isn't really any, because it's not an action film. It's not like a film that you would sit and watch for the action. It's there because of the gripping sort of story and the subject matter, and because you want to see what's actually happened, and that grips you, and it's really cool. I'm going to score this film an excellent watch and give it an 8 out of 10. I can't give it any higher because obviously of my taste. My taste, I like my films to be atmospheric, and I like horror films, or I like sort of like films with lots of sort of like action and stuff. And this has none of that in it, but it's still a very impressive movie for what it is. So I can't score it higher, as it's a little bit out of my sort of normal taste, but I did love it. Really, really cool. 8 out of 10. Never Take Sweets from a Stranger. Have any of you guys seen it? Let me know down below what you think of it. I thought it was really well made for such a taboo sort of subject matter. You don't get many films based on this sort of subject matter, child abuse. I mean, I don't really have any, apart from maybe Possum, which is an up-to-date one about a sort of a paedophile coming to terms with his demons. But yeah, I don't have any sort of films like this. So for originality, it's fantastic. And it is a subject that we do sort of hide away from. And I think, no, we shouldn't. It's something that we need to be up on and not sweep it under the carpet. It's a subject that we need to be at forefront, so we got our eyes open for it, so we can see it if it happens, and stop our poor children being sort of like become victims of crimes that they know nothing about, and they don't even think it's a crime until later, maybe later in life. But there we go. The only other thing I saw like this, which was really haunting, was on Netflix. There was a documentary about series about Jimmy Savile. I think it's called Jimmy Savile, a British Horror Story, and it's all about his life and how he was like pursued. He was a serial sort of child sort of assaults, and it was like, yeah, and that was an interesting watch, although very disturbing. It was interesting, but this stuff needs to be more out there so we can deal with it. and I don't want, not to become normal, but for us to actually understand it. And like I said when I watched the Odessa File, you know, it shouldn't be a taboo subject like the Holocaust. It should be something that we should learn from it, and we can only learn by it by being open about it. And it's the same with this. It needs to be more sort of like films like this. And this is so old. I can't even remember what year this was made in. I don't know if it's going to tell me. No, it doesn't tell me. It's just, which is a shame. But yeah, never take Sweets from a Stranger. I do recommend watching it if you want to watch something a little bit different. That's it, guys. Thank you for watching the Indicator Film Week. We've looked at the Odessa File. We've looked at the classic horror, The Gorgon, and now we've looked at this sort of courtroom kind of drama, Never Takes Sweets from a Stranger. And I hope you've enjoyed the week. It's a little bit different from my normal sort of horror. Going forward, I've got some more sort of things planned. I do want to do a true story week. That again will also be, probably won't be horror, but it'll still be interesting to watch. I think if you like true stories movies. But then obviously I want to get back into doing my horror reviews. I've got quite a few to I've got a pile about this that I haven't watched yet, that I still want to get through and sort of like maybe do some reviews for you. And obviously I've got the Horror Con coming up at the end of May, so who knows what's going to happen from that. But until next time, guys, look after yourselves, look after one another, and I really hope I see you all soon.